So, real quick, I would like you to look at these two headlines. Environmental Protection Agency, fracking causes drinking water contamination. And then, EPA says there's no evidence fracking contaminates groundwater. Do you notice something? These two articles are about the same thing, but they have two different headlines. You know, one seems to be a Salon article, a very liberal news site, and the other happens to be a Libertarian News Site. Which one do you trust? Let's dive right in. The Environmental Protection Agency has issued the final version of a comprehensive study on fracking. Unlike its first version issued in 2015, deletes the original conclusion that no evidence that fracking systemically contaminates water. Sounds like a reasonable paragraph. They're just reporting that a comprehensive study on fracking released by the EPA deletes the conclusion that no evidence that fracking systematically contaminates water from their earlier draft. Fair enough. Sure, there's no bias about that. EPA's new study removed a previous conclusion that the agency did not find evidence that these mechanisms have led to widespread systemic impacts on drinking water resources in the United States. So Salon and the Libertarian Republic seem to agree on that. Nothing fishy there. So let's read another paragraph from Salon. EPA scientists chose not to include that sentence. The scientists concluded it could not be quantitatively supported. Thomas A. Burke, the EPA Sciences Advisor and Deputy Assistant Administrator of the agency's Office of Research and Development, told the New York Times Wednesday, Burke said that the new report concluded that fracking contaminates drinking water when acquiring groundwater, mixing that water with chemical additives, injecting the chemical fluids underground, collecting the wastewater that flows out of the wells, and storing that used wastewater. Wait a second, so Salon posts an article that says that the EPA claimed that fracking causes contamination to the drinking water. Am I missing something here? Did we not just read EPA scientists concluded that it could not be quantitatively supported? Or am I just tripping on some shrooms or some other hallucinogenic drugs? Listen, I know it's the job of news companies to generate revenue online. But do you know anybody who just reads the headlines of news articles, despite the fact that they did not read them? I do. Not to mention, this whole paragraph contradicts itself. We go from the scientists concluded it could not be quantitatively supported to the paragraph stating the new report concluded that fracking contaminates drinking water. How? Can someone explain this to me? Let's go over to the Libertarian Republic and see what they report. EPA officials said in a Tuesday press conference that data gaps and uncertainties mean the agency can't prove its previous assertion that there was zero evidence of national drinking water being contaminated. The agency acknowledged that it has no evidence of water actually being contaminated across the country by fracking. EPA also said in the press call it worked with environmental groups to create the study. EPA's report blows apart the anti-fracking campaign's most common claim, namely that hydraulic fracturing is polluting the groundwater all across America. Dr. Katie Brown, a researcher at the pro-industry group Energy and Dev, said in a statement, "This study took 5 years to complete, and the EPA found nothing to suggest that fracking is a serious risk to groundwater." Well, what the heck? Does fracking contaminate water or does it not? I mean, Salon's headline said it does, that it's guaranteed. They said fracking contaminates groundwater, drinking water. But then its paragraph said that there's no evidence. Then in that same paragraph said there was evidence. It's really confusing. I'm getting 3 flip-flops from Salon, and the Libertarian Republic is staying fairly consistent. Although, who's telling the truth? You know, I think we should read the actual report. EPA found scientific evidence that hydraulic fracturing activities can impact drinking water resources under some circumstances. The report identifies certain conditions under which impacts from hydraulic fracturing activities can be more frequent or severe. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds a lot different from Environmental Protection Agency. Fracking causes drinking water contamination. That sounds more like EPA says fracking could contaminate water under certain circumstances, but that doesn't generate clicks or push a narrative, now does it? Now, what about the Libertarian Republic? They clearly say that the EPA has found no evidence of fracking causing water contamination. Well, I mean, so does the second paragraph of Salon right before Salon contradicts itself. Data gaps and uncertainties limited EPA's ability to fully assess the potential impacts on drinking water resources locally and nationally. Because of these data gaps and uncertainties, it was not possible to fully characterize the severity of impacts, nor was it possible to calculate or estimate the national frequency of impacts on drinking water resources from activities in the hydraulic fracturing water cycle. Let's concentrate on a few key quotes here. Data gaps and uncertainties limit EPA's ability to fully assess the potential impacts on drinking water. In other words, EPA's study was inconclusive. Does that sound like EPA, fracking causes drinking water contamination, title-worthy to you? Or how about, it was not possible to fully characterize the severity of impacts, nor was it possible to calculate or estimate the national frequency of impacts on drinking water resources from activities in the hydraulic fracturing water cycle? Yup, clearly the EPA said that fracking causes water contamination, right? That sounds a lot different when comparing it to EPA fracking causes drinking water contamination. Basically, the EPA has lack of empirical data to say anything. Of course, leave it to Salon to have a misleading headline. We all know some liberal out there is gonna read the headline and be like, I knew it! I knew it! Fracking is, bad! Damn Republicans! Them science-denying bigots! Well, aside from the EPA, let's also note that the United States Geological Survey has concluded that groundwater quality data collected for the study indicate that groundwater chemistry in the shallow aquifer system in the new study area is the result of natural processes, not by fracking. And a report done by a coalition of regulatory bodies have concluded that fracking does not contaminate groundwater or drinking water. Conclusion? Salon and liberal media are a bunch of lying sacks of shit. Did you like that video? Then don't forget to subscribe for more content. Leave a comment about your thoughts or about what you want to see next. Or if you want to call me names for having different political opinions than you, then be my guest. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe.